What is up, everybody? This is Silver Spook, and this is the Silver Spook video about Spider-Man and Spider Trans question mark. So we're gonna talk about Spider-Man, of course, across the Spiderverse, and but I want to kind of focus on the topics related to the month which is Pride Month, and so we're going to be talking about the what in the heck happened there? Oh, we're going to be talking about Spider-Man, and we're going to be talking about the character who isn't, I believe, overtly and obviously and doesn't declare themselves as trans, but there is a Protect Trans Lives flag in the back, and a lot of people have pointed out that this character is also trans-coded. It suggests that the character is a trans character in Spider-Man, and kind of like what that means, because I know there's a lot you could say about Spider-Man. Who doesn't love Spider-Man? Everybody loves Spider-Man, right? I mean, I think most people do, except for, I don't know, people who don't watch movies, I guess. I mean, it might not be your favorite movie. There's a lot of Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man might be the most screen-timed superhero in modern Hollywood, and certainly for the last 20 to 30 years. I think that there's been more Spider-Man than anything else. I guess Iron Man, there's been a lot of Iron Man. Wolverine, there's seven Hugh Jackman Wolverine movies, but Spider-Man has been played by Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, what's his name, the little short kid, I can't remember modern people's names, I'm too old, but the Spider-Man in Homecoming, and he's the famous guy dating Zendaya, or was. I don't know what the stat. I don't know what the Zen Thomas or Tom Daya, Tom Holland and Zendaya status is, but Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, and now we have Miles Morales, of course, in the across the Spider-Verse into the Spider-Verse series, which is, I think it's going to be three movies in the animated Spider-Verse trilogy, and so this is the second one, right? And so it's been a lot of Spider-Man, right? And in Spider-Verse, so you have in the first one, Into the Spider-Verse, you had Spider-Pig, you had Noir Spider-Man played by Nick Cage, you had anime Spider-Man. Can't remember all the names. I'm not the biggest Spider-Man fan ever. There's the Spider, like older disheveled Spider-Man, younger, less disheveled Spider-Mans. You've got Spider-Gwen. There's a lot. There's so many, right? And then just in one movie, there's like 25. And then in this one, there's more. And so there's a lot of Spider-Mans all over the place. And and so if you haven't seen it, you can find it across the world, except for in some places, but we'll get to that. So Spider-Man is a very popular franchise, and I think that a lot of people have seen it. Everybody knows it. It's hard to, they kind of like, when they did the Spider-Verse, they kind of had to they had to try to refresh the because there's like, if you're gonna make another one, it's got to be different. It can't be the exact same story. Peter Parker and his mom and his aunt, and Peter Parker, and he's in love with his girlfriend, but it's it's kind of like, it was like there was like three separate Spider-Man series where there's like multiple movies, right? The Andrew Garfield one and the Tobey Maguire. So it's kind of like, it was getting really stale, right? It was doing so many. It's like, do we really need some more of these? And this is gonna we're gonna come back to the wider cinema and entertainment, business and economic reality with why are there so many constant remakes? That's the whole thing that we could probably spend 3 hours on. But in part it is we'll talk briefly about it since we're already into the Spider-Verse. But I think and then we'll come back to Spider Trans. But the Spider-Man this will be, I don't know, anybody have an exact count? I think this might be like the 25th movie with Spider-Man in it in the last 20 years. I think I had a link to that. Maybe I did, maybe I don't. Let's see why it was like why there's so many remakes. Why? I had a link to it. I might have lost it though. The remake genre is so pervasive because of for the production companies, action brands involved in films is a safe bet. You don't have to drum up interest in a new concept, story, or character because it's already made audience for the taking. And that's the obvious answer. This is what pops up. But one of the reasons is there's so much consolidation, right? I'm trying to find that. There was an article that was related to this. I don't know if I'm going to find the exact one, but basically, this is the basic answer, which is that it's safer and easier to make a film that is already has a built-in audience, or has a built-in history. People already know it has brand recognition, right? It's kind of like, this the whole concept of like building recognition is marketing. That's actually like one of the biggest expenses. It's actually, I think more money is spent on promoting and marketing films than making them in the last 10 years. That was an article that came out like 5-10 years ago. And so so then if you already have, but it's kind of like it's kind of boring because you got to watch the same thing. But when you have companies that don't really care, right? Like for example, the reason why there's a writer's strike, again, shout out to the ongoing strikers and the actors who I believe are getting close to their strike or on strike. All the workers who, as we talked about a lot recently, produce these shows, right? And so the reason why there's a writer's strike at all is because there's corporations that, like Disney, like the big Hollywood entities that want to make more money for their because they're private capitalist entities, and so paying the writers less, replacing writers with AI that, or threatening to, or using that, weaponizing that to push down writers' benefits and writers and other actors' pay and compensation that increases the profits of these companies is the major reason. And that's the same reason why there's so many remakes, because the consolidation of all the IP into a tiny handful of hands, like Disney and 5 other companies own almost all of the rights to all of the characters and worlds and settings and all that intellectual property, right? Like so much oil, right? Like the oil rights, like the title to so much land, but it's in the digital idea space, in the design and creative space. And so the owning all the rights means that like they just want to keep using they want to keep like digitally, right? They want to keep cinematically mining, like mining the earth for gold or for copper or oil. They want to keep digging into their mine to deplete it of all the possible revenue they can get from it, right? Like that's the way that corporations view intellectual property, right? So like they don't see a Spider-Man or a Spider-Man or a Ant-Man or a Star Wars or a there's so many Star Wars, right? Like I mean, remember like recently there's been Star Wars, there's been, I mean, I like some of them, but I mean Andor was kind of boring, right? I have a video about that. Like I forgot everything that I saw in that. There was sorry, not Andor. It was the Obi-Wan one. Andor was okay, I guess, but there's so much of it, There's Obi-Wan. When we watch there's like Mandalorian, there's Boba Fett, there's like 25,000 Star Wars, and then there's the animated ones. And it's like that's cool, but like it's kind of like when you come back to the same planet, do the same thing again. You keep revisiting and revisiting and revisiting and revisiting the same character, and it's kind of like this character is like kind of been, because the character has recognition. Obi-Wan, everybody knows who Obi-Wan is. Luke, everyone knows who Luke is, right? Mandalorian, everybody knows who that is. Actually, the Mandalorian is a little bit less explored, but it's still Tatooine. Again, we're back on Tatooine. Boba Fett, we're on Tatooine. Mandalorian, we're on Tatooine. Obi-Wan's on Tatooine. We're all on Tatooine. Why are we all on Tatooine? Because it's space cowboy land that Hollywood can easily film. They know like what it looks like. It's the desert area. yeah, near the Californian mega studios like Universal and such, right? So it's kind of like, and that's what Star Wars was initially. It was a and George Lucas of course went to an actual desert in Africa, but to film, but it's a very like tried. Okay, we go to this desert town. We have you got your cloaks, you got your Asian inspired clothing, you got your light swords, and we just do it again. And so it's easy. We have some samurai. We have some Kurosawa style sword fights with more neon, like a raving samurai fight. And then we got like some spaceship miniatures flying around shooting each other, and then we do that, and then we just film the same place, and like we have some weird creatures come out, like some sand people like with spikes on their head. We have like some weird giant bullfrogs crossed with a dragon come out of caves, and then we make some money, because it's basically like we own all of the we own this setting, we own the Star Wars, we own the rights to use the word lightsaber, we own the Millennium Falcon, we own that's basically how the corporations make their decisions of what's going to go in the movie, right? So when Disney's like, okay, we own Iron Man, we own Avengers, we own Thor, we own Loki, we own we own Spider-Man, we own everything, we own all of it. So let's take our digital mine and all the mines that we own, right? And then dig into all of those, right? And then what the writers are doing, right? And the Quantum Mania is really obvious, right? Actually, I'll say Spider-Man is less obvious, but what the writers are doing, and I have a whole video about Quantum Mania on this channel as well. That one actually deals a lot. The Quantum Mania video that I made deals a lot with that topic of how the capitalist profit motive in the way these mega like end stage capitalism corporations make their decisions is really resulting in worse and worse quality shows, right? And that's why I talked about Disney AI and the diminishing humanity of Hollywood, and then also the diminishing livelihoods and life and creative life of and just quality of life of writers, actors, creators, animators, everyone, right? And so that's causing, because as they keep trying to like basically, so in Ant-Man it's like, well, who do we have that you can still mine? Well, we have Ant-Man, we gotta launch another tentpole mega movie that's gonna branch off and introduce all these new characters for this whole new cinematic universe. And that's so the way that they're looking at it is not so much as like, let's make a movie and tell a story, like let's like look at issues happening in the modern world, whether it's this, or whether it's DC is like DC is launching the Flash, and Ezra Miller is a indigenous child grooming terrible person who came to here I'm Native Hawaiian, right? And so he came to Hawaii and like caused all kind of ruckus and fights, and was like basically being amazingly belligerent here. So fuck that guy. But Flash, Flash is inside of the DC universe, right? And so they basically, it's like DC and the studios that operate that. Who owns the DC? It's Warner Brothers. So Warner Brothers is like competing with Disney, right, as a giant mega profit-driven corporation that doesn't care about anything except making more money for a tiny handful of disproportionately cis white straight dickhead millionaires and billionaires, right? And so DC's universe is like Warner Brothers. Like, what do we have? Okay, what we have Superman, we have Batman, we have Wonder Woman, right? These are all of our digital. These are our digital mines, agricultural territory. This is our resource pool. This is our portfolio, right? This is our stock portfolio. We have Superman, Batman, the Flash, Aquaman, right? That's what we own, and we're gonna mine as hard as we can. We make 25,000 movies of them. I don't care how bad they are; it doesn't matter, because it's actually in fact, as I talked about previously, under the last 10 years, it doesn't matter if you make money or not. You just make something, you print money, give it to your corporations that buy back their own stock. Whether you sell tickets or not doesn't matter. You just have to make something as a pass-through mechanism, right? And even if it flops, doesn't matter. That's actually the secret. Is it doesn't matter if the movie flops because the corporations get money. Like the people at the highest level actually get money, whether the movie does well or not, because it's actually based on money coming straight out of the United States, dollar hegemonic central bank money printer. And then that's why Elon Musk didn't make any money with any of his products, right? Oh, until very recently, this topic's a little bit beyond the scope of today. I might talk about that later today, but we'll talk about collapse of dollar hegemony, the imperial structure of the United States, and why movies might have to actually be better now than they historically have been. But long story short, basically, is that companies, the corporations don't care about whether the quality of the movie is that good. If the movie is good, it's kind of a side benefit. It doesn't really matter. They don't care if the people who are watching the movies, right, whether that's the DC universe, whether that's Ant-Man, whether that's, Star Wars, right, they don't really care whether people, they don't really care if the universe is tired, it's old, right? That's why I said, like, what's one of the problem with Quantum Mania is it feels like 90s, like what it's talking about is not relevant to now, really. It's like, it's like 90s, early naughties, father-daughter story. Like, this is played out. Like, we talked about that in this video. It doesn't feel like very relevant to the present. It's kind of like, everyone's kind of phoning in. And Bill Murray is like acting like it's Bill Murray. There's Wes Anderson is all being talked about because he's got a new movie come out. But it's like Bill Murray's acting. Bill Murray has been like phoning it in for the last 10 years. And he literally said in Zombieland at the end, he's like, why did you choose to do this movie? Don't say it was because you love the script. And Bill Murray basically says what he actually thinks, I think, which is that drugs cost money. At least he's honest. He's like, I'm just showing up in the movies because I need to make more money. So Bill Murray is mining himself, right? And then also with the modern technologies of AI, right? So then actors and that can sell their likenesses, right, in perpetuity. James Earl Jones, I think, is selling himself, his face, voice, and his voice certainly to be reproduced, and his children will get some kind of with their trust fund will get some kind of recurring revenue whenever they use it. But like literally, you're mining the digital celebrity, the established mind share in billions of people around the planet, knowing and responding to that actor's name, face, likeness, voice, right? Similar to so the actor themselves, that's why they put the big actor's name on the front of the box or on the poster. Similar to responding to Spider-Man, the mind share, the psychological, the imagination space, or whatever you want to call it, share planet-wide of Spider-Man. Everybody knows Spider-Man. They're going to watch it just because it's Spider-Man, right? Whether it sucks or not, people are going to show up. Now, if you keep having really terrible movies that suck in a row, that could make people, that could decrease how much people value that, right, in a certain sense. But again, it's kind of like it is like sucking all the oil out of the ground, burning it all, and degrading the soil and the air and the water and the land, and destroying the ecosystems beneath them, polluting the planet, causing climate change, right? Like mining and drilling for oil and fossil fuel and natural gas, and doing it in a really destructive way, like the U.S. military spilling thousands of gallons of jet fuel all over our land, like what the U.S. and Canadian and other corporations are doing, destroying indigenous land, what they did in Ecuador, right? All over Turtle Island, right? What they do in Iraq with their wars and their drilling, right? What they just, they don't really, the capitalists, and I would argue the Western capitalists, certainly colonial world, don't care if they do the equivalent of toxic drilling, extractive, depletive movie production in the way that they don't care if they do extractive, net destructive in the long term resource extraction, right? And that the people who run Disney is the same American imperial corporation, the same handful of imperial clowns, right? Wall Street, DC, Silicon Valley, Hollywood. They're all in the same boats together. They all think and talk the same way, which is like, how are we going to get as much money? Because it's America, it's capitalist hellscape, right? The number one capitalist superpower destroying the world. So the American corporations, that's all they think about, is how we can mine the resources of our intellectual property, characters, stories, worlds that we own, and we can sue other people if they try to make one. right? That's why Disney has just like a big, huge chunks of their money just goes to pay lawyers and to throw NDAs and sue people out of oblivion, right? When they try to do anything that has one of the IPs on it. Now the thing is, like, obviously, like, people who create works, right? And that gets into like the intellectual property itself, and like how much do creators of works, like the writer and author of a story or the designer of a character, deserve to get for that creation, right? Like, should Stan Lee make $1 million, or should, like, the person who originally created a Superman or a Spider-Man, should they get millions of dollars, billions of dollars, infinite money, right? Or should it be like limited, right? Because if it, because at a certain point, like, the amount of revenue that is made from a franchise, a character, a story, and a piece of intellectual property is not the same as unlike, let's say, like, if you make a hamburger, right? If you prepare a really good dim sum, right, or a spaghetti or something at a restaurant, and you sell it, you're not gonna make like more than I guess if it has gold spaghetti noodles and like diamond meatballs, and you're selling it at some amazingly bougie hyper upscale restaurant in New York, then you could make maybe $1 million from that spaghetti. But generally you're not going to make more than $10 or $20 from a spaghetti, right? A really fancy restaurant, you have $200 a plate, right? Everyone comes in wearing like like they're showing up for the Met Gala. You might make $100-$200 with a plate of spaghetti, selling it for $500, right? But there's a limit to how much you can make for those kind of consumable goods. A car, a bike, that a soda, right? If you bake a pie and you sell it at the bake stand, right, or bake sale, there's a limit to how much you can make from that, right? Because it's a one-time use. But when you have intellectual property, when you have what is that? Yeah, creative, like non-physical and infinitely reproducible. It kind of gets into the information wants to be free thing as well, but I should probably pull it back before I go too deep into that rabbit hole. But it's like if you create the character Spider-Man, that takes you X amount of time. Like when I create Neofeud, that takes me 2.5 years writing music, art, programming to make that cyberpunk adventure game from an indigenous left perspective. That is Neofeud. Now how much money that makes, right? Or how much money your Spider-Man makes? It could be $5. It could be $50 million, right? It's and you make it one time, right? You design the character one time. Now of course, you have to come, like, new animators and new writers have to come in, write the Across the Spider-Verse story, have to write the Into the Spider-Verse story, but it's still like the gravity well, right? The resource, the recognition of the Spider-Man itself, right? The brand, the marketing, the marketing power, the sales potential, right? The community built around the Spider-Man. That's the word they use when they talk about these things a lot of time. And that's more like digital marketing and selling. That's what Twitter's trying to have installed by the Yahoo CEO that recently got brought on because Elon's a clown and a complete fail son of Empire. But the digital, the money that can be made from that first design of the Spider-Man is, or any creative intellectual property, unlike a physical consumable property, is basically infinite, right? So it gets into this weird space where how much do people deserve? And the thing is, a lot of people like spend a lot of time and energy to make a creative product. There's like half of YouTube is just full of sad boys going, "Oh man, I spent a year, working on this album or this independent film after I graduated, and like 5 people bought it, and it was my mom and 3 of my friends and my dog." And it's like, and it sucks because like whether nobody watches it or plays it or listens to it, or 50 million or 3 billion people do, it is very much like not in your control totally. It's not really, right? A lot of it relies on where you're positioned, right? Do you have the money for marketing? Do you have a platform? Do you have access to Hollywood? Are you an insider in, well, let's face it, are you an insider in a terrible capitalist system where soft power and entertainment and mind control and conditioning and propaganda is central, right? So it's kind of like you can't really blow your IP up unless you, and that's what I always talk about, right? It's like you can't really blow your IP up unless you kind of like, in a certain sense, become deeper and deeper entrenched within the certainly in the Western world, the capitalist corporate system that is capable of, I think in Idota they call it celebrityum redistributors, right? The people who control the possibility of your creation having visibility, consumption, and then mass fame, right? So they distribute the fame. It's not about you making a show or a song or a movie or a book or anything else, and then you, because it's so good on the merits of your creation, people consume, watch, listen to, play your video game, etc. No. That's distributed by Warner Brothers, by Disney. That's distributed by the people who own Twitter and the Steam store and all the movie theaters, right? Who can decide what gets shown where, what gets put in front of eyeballs, what gets on the radio and what doesn't. What used to be the radio, now it's like, whatever platforms that people listen to music to. I don't even know, right? Spotify, or what gets on the front of the YouTube algorithm and what doesn't, right? What gets on the front of the everyone's Google search and what doesn't, if Google works anymore, right? Which it seems like it's increasingly not working, but that's another problem of the system that we're talking about. So, but I'm kind of deep in the weeds in that, and I'm supposed to be talking about spider trans. So that's what I did. You see, I did an algorithmic hack, which is I pretend to talk about a thing that it seems like everybody is gonna click on it, because probably half the audience is gonna be like, I don't want wokeism inside of my comic books actually, and the other half is like, I love trans people. And to be clear, obviously I'm, as a native non-binary Mahu, and which is a third gender in our native Hawaiian culture, I have a whole video about that. Of course I do support trans rights, and I hope that there are spider trans. I don't know exactly, that's why I put a question mark, because it's not exactly clear. And so let's move into that topic before it gets too late. But we come back to the other ones, because we can talk about capitalism too. We're blue and red and white in the face because America is the capitalist superpower that's going to die in its own terrible system, and that's awesome. But the trans people. Speaking of that, real quick, just quick shout out. I did upload recently this week a video. That's a conversation of myself and other queer, indigenous, black, and people of color that I hosted this last week, and I uploaded that to the YouTube channel, and you can watch that later on. That includes 3 Native Hawaiians, in fact, Kamakani Rights, Eli, and myself, and Jupiter is Black and Chicana, and Ace. And so this is for Pride. It is Pride Month, of course, where we support our LGBTQ plus people. At least, hopefully, most people do. Obviously, some don't. But this was a discussion between all of us about all of these topics. And yeah, so like if you look at this image here, just to be clear, it's kind of like I don't always part of being Mahu, at least for me, is to be gender fluid, and so. That means I present in different ways at different times, right? And so sometimes I'm more masculine, sometimes I'm more feminine, and Mahu is not male or female. It's a third thing that's not describable in Western conceptions of gender, which is that's a deep topic. And if you want to learn about indigenous and non-Western conceptions of what it means to be male, female, gender, how they interplays with economics and with the rest of society, culture, and such, then you can watch this video, and there's a lot of discussion about that and how it's important to decolonization and undoing the capitalist system that's destroying your franchises and your beloved comic book characters. I don't really love any of these characters too much, in fact, but I know some people do, so that's why I make the videos about them, because I know weirdly hyper passionate nerds will click on shit. Anyways, so but Spider Trans is Spider Gwen, right? Let's just look that up real fast before I keep going. So Spider across the Spiderverse, was quietly pulled from cinemas across the Mideast. Okay, we'll get to that one, but let's Across the Spider-Verse birthed a controversial trans icon. So the animated Spider-Man films remade Gwen Stacy into a kick-ass superhero. They also made her a trans-coded teen girl, and queer viewers cannot get enough of the signs. So I think like part of it is like the kind of colors that are kind of surrounding in the clothing choices, in the lighting choices, and in the backgrounds and around the character, right? It's not like Gwen Stacy is just, I am a trans character. It's not like clear, right? As far as I know, right? Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse isn't just smashing the box office expectations. Oh, also, what's up to Emma and Big Teal? Thanks for hopping in there. Isn't just smashing box office expectations and winning over critics. It's also generated a ton of conversation. Many viewers remain mesmerized by the animation, which is legitimately groundbreaking. But it's also a surprising debate going on whether Gwen Stacy, also known as Spider-Gwen, voiced by Haley Steinfeld, is trans. The common conception is that Gwen Stacy is a cisgender woman, as other iterations of the characters have been. But while this version of the character appeared in Into the Spider-Verse as well, the conversations about whether or not she is a trans woman picked up after the release of Across the Spider-Verse. Since June 2nd, fans have presented a wealth of evidence on social media as to her unstated identity in support of the Gwen is trans theory, much of which they say comes from Across the Spider-Verse itself. During draped in trans colors, giving a speech about having to hide half of yourself from the people you love is subtle as a brick. I mean, having to hide yourself, yeah, that's definitely a thing that trans people will have to do in a transphobic place like the West and the United States. We are so trained to look for the consumable versions of queerness and trans, the hey, look, two people of the same gender kiss moment, that companies like Disney try to sell us as actual representation, that we don't discuss which stories really resonate with us. Trans and even cis fans have every right to say Gwen Stacy is trans, even if the movies have never outright confirmed it. You can't deny that it's been hinted at. The fact is, if she can make somebody feel represented, who are you to tell them that they're wrong? Gwen Stacy. Many of the theorists have pulled their tweets down due to receiving threats from other users over their argument of Gwen's transgender identity, but those theories may not be off. In fact, after breaking it all down, it may be hard not to agree that Gwen Stacy is unequivocally trans. While there's nothing in the film that outright states that Gwen is cis, there are symbols that could suggest she is trans. This is the one I was gonna bring up, which is there is a flag, a trans flag with the words "Protect Trans Kids" scrawled on it in the room, right? I don't know if you see it. Gwen Stacy, like that is a scene in the movie, right? At least in most of the cuts. Let me see. Yeah, it is not like super clear. It's not like it's not like super in your face at that second. It's kind of like, it's obscured a bit in the background. I guess it is fairly large, but it's hinted at, right? If you were looking very closely, right? That Gwen Stacy has a stance on that, if not is literally trans, right? So that's a choice that was made. Because obviously when these movies are coming together, everything that goes into the movie is hyper selected, right? Everything. I mean, as I said, everything is at the end of the day, the people that are making this movie is the giant corporation. They're going to determine every single thing that goes into every little scene. And if they say something stays or something goes, there's people that are making decisions about that stuff that is outside of the hands, especially if it's something that is going to be political like that, right? I take that back. Everything's political. If it's something that is like that, that's going to upset transphobic people that are huge numbers of the audiences. I mean, of course, there's audiences that are not transphobic. That's a lot of people too. But those are decisions that they're not. It's not gonna it's not gonna accidentally wind up in a mega American, the biggest planetary conglomerates, flagship movies like the Spider-Man movies. It's not gonna accidentally slip in there. It's some people had to make some choices to do that, right? So let's go back to this. So many theorists have pulled their tweets down. While there is nothing in the film that outright states that Gwen is cis, there are symbols that could suggest she is trans. There's a trans flag, protect trans kids on it. Captain Stacy, Gwen's father, has a handmade trans flag on his police jacket. Okay, so now we're in some other territory, right? Which is like, I have heard some takes on this Into the Spiderverse and Across the Spiderverse, which are like, it's really good. I mean, there's lots of people of color, there's a lot of diversity in it, and then we got some like representation of trans people, and that's really great. Or at least some hinting at trans possibilities, and that's great. And then it's all like, all cops are awesome, man. and then the liberal and then the fox, as Malcolm X would say, the fox is far more dangerous and deadly. The white liberal is the worst because they're far more dangerous and deadly in the forest. The wolf you can see coming, you know what he's up to. The fox, though his mouth is filled with teeth, he appears to smile at you, and so he gets close enough to eat you. And then the liberal comes out and says, like, you see, black people, we love everything. All we got to keep doing is funding NYPD and Cop City, and we'll have a very diverse, equal, prosperous world once we give all of our spider money to the Spider Cop. You guys, Spiderpunk loves Spider Cop, obviously, right? All black people love the cops, right? Is that correct? Big T Brown, can you confirm? Do you love the police, or do we have to have like 60 million people burn most of the United States down? Or do we have to, I don't, but that's the purpose of Disney, as I often say, right? Is to, we have multiple people of color inside here that can confirm, as a native Hawaiian, I'm like, it's like they're trying to build Cop City in Hawaii. We'll come to that. I might have to save that for another time. We'll see how the rest of the stream goes and how many thousands of tangents I go on. But, that's one criticism I've heard, which is like, how do you protect trans kids while empowering the police that are beating, killing, and doing other horrible things en masse to trans people, especially trans women of color? How do you protect trans kids standing Spider Cop, right? The answer is you cannot, because the United States is a unfixable, broken ass empire that has to basically fall apart. But doesn't matter who you vote for. In fact, I think. But anyway, that's just my personal take. But when it comes to trans, as a native Hawaiian undergoing ongoing U.S. colonization, illegal occupation, and genocide by the United States, that's my take. Is I don't really care what happens to it. In fact, but I do care about the trans kids and people of color and the people inside the United States. But the people that run it are people like the giant military industrial complex corporations, neocons and neoliberals that by and large are all the shareholders and profiteers at Disney. So I don't really fucking care. These colors are especially prominent in her room, and when she swings through the sky, moments where she can be entirely herself. And the trans flag colors are prominent in Gwen's Spider-Woman super suit. If it's just the colors of her suit, this has nothing to do with being trans, you may say, in response to this being considered proof of her identity. But before diving into evidence for Gwen Stacy's possible trans identity goes much deeper than the costume, let's address the common retort. Superhero costumes don't come randomly assigned. We've seen over and over that heroes, particularly spider heroes, make their own costumes. Spider-Woman had suits of varying color schemes. Comics' first Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew, wore red, yellow, and black. Gwen has no desire to be like, I think in Miles Morales makes his own, if I'm not mistaken. Right? There's a different Spider. He has a different Spider-Man costume. Again, I'm not the biggest Spider-Man fan. I'm in the Harrison Ford camp when it comes to nerd shit. Even though I am a nerd and a geek. It's a movie. Like, shut up, you weird nerds. I will give Harrison Ford this. And they said Harrison Ford promoting Indiana Jones's new movie, right? What would there's a lot of controversy around punching Nazis, Harrison Ford, right? Harrison Ford, what do you think Harrison Ford would do Harrison Ford, what do you think Indiana Jones would do when it comes to the Nazi punching today? And Harrison Ford was like, I think that Indiana Jones would push to the front of the line and punch the Nazi first. So, you know, at least one person in Hollywood hasn't gone full bore, let's support our Nazis, like the ones that the United States and Victoria Nuland and the neocons made in Ukraine, right? At least Harris, I mean, I don't know what he thinks about that. I don't think most actors think about that. I know that Mark Hamill doesn't think about that, and he just shows up and stands Nazis, and he's like, oh, I didn't know. But, oops, I was just on a panel with a bunch of Nazis because liberals fund and operate planetary fascism and Nazis worldwide, including the ones in the Taiwan Strait and the ones that are pushing a Vietnam right now that just killed 9 people to start proxy war in Asia Pacific. But anyways, let's come back to the present where, the point is that, people can make their own costumes, and I don't want to get too deep into the nitty gritty of, is Spider-Gwen trans? Is there a trans Spider-Man? These colors don't dominate. Yeah, so trans flag colors under the hood is perfect way of negotiating. Anyways, the important thing is, like, there is, again, like I said, like this is why I wanted to talk about this is there's a lot going on, and it's when we talk about LGBTQ plus topics, it is. That's why I wanted to make this video as well. I mean, I just want to talk to LGBTQ plus people and BIPOC people because, I haven't had a panel specifically on that I haven't had one as one of the Silver Spook panels. But, it's kind of like a thing where, people support, I know, like, even a lot of people that are in what I call, like, on the actual side of the actual superheroes of the world that don't wear ridiculous spandex, right? Who are just like activists, like, just trying to organize their communities to actually stop the evils of the world that are capitalism, imperialism, racism, colonialism, that are headquartered in the United States and are profited from at the highest levels by people who own Spider-Man. So let's be real about that, right? It's like, and I talk about that all the time. So it's like the real superheroes don't look like a Indiana Jones or a Luke Skywalker. They don't look like Iron Man, Spider-Man. They don't look like Superman. The people that are actually doing anything positive in the world, they don't have a lot of money in a place like the United States. They don't have a lot of anything, right? They're just like trying to organize and do mutual aid in their local communities. They're trying to educate people around their communities and in other places. They're operating on like shoestring budgets. They eat a lot of ramen because they can't afford nothing. They're constantly asking people, can you please to donate some money to help us get all of our friends out of prison when we were at that water protecting action, stop Cop City action, stop Hawaii Cop City action, right? Native Hawaiian resistance and pressure on the United States Empire has stopped Cop City in Hawaii. So that's a win for us. So I just want to say I am a superhero. I'm a more superhero than Miles Morales, Spider-Gwen. I don't care if it's freaking Ant-Man, Flea Man, the Tick, Centipede Man, Spider-Tran, Spider-Straight, Spider anything, I mean, I hope there's a Spider-Tran, but I'm just more of a superhero because, why? Because in Hawaii we stopped Cop City, and I want to take all the credit for it. No, I'm just kidding. But we don't, there's pressure from Hawaiians I'm not joking about this. In Hawaii, there was a Cop City that was to be built. The United States was trying to build it. Let me get my little. If you want to follow me and learn about this, follow at Silver Spook Guy. There was an attempt to build a mega, multi-tens of millions of dollars campus, basically Cop City, like the one they're trying to build in Georgia, that would train thousands upon thousands of militarized police, basically military. Most U.S. military is in the police, and most of the United States police is all hyper militarized, and so many of them are ex-military. So they're good at killing brown and black people for colonial capitalism around the world, and they come back and do that here. That's what the U.S. police are. But the Cop City is about really ramping that up. Have a even more mass scale industrial, basically population left and anti-colonial and anti-capitalist and anti-racist people suppression facility to teach cops how to put down mass uprisings, right? To put down Black Lives Matter, right? That's what Cop City is for. Georgia and Atlanta is one of the highest percentage black places, and the United States knows that it's the black identity is literally classified as terrorism. There's like hundreds of thousands of FBI documents, like literally talk about this all the time. The United States knows that black people in the United States and indigenous people, but there's the percentage of people that are black and in the United States is huge, and that they are a serious threat to its imperial capitalist nightmare hegemony. And so the United States is building Cop City in Atlanta and in Georgia generally, but it's one of the biggest population centers, to train tons and tons of people on stolen indigenous land, destroying forests, very important forests and ecologically necessary areas, to build a facility to train mountains of cops to basically put down the uprisings that are to come. The United States doesn't care about anyone. People who operate the racist, colonialist plutocracy doesn't care about anyone in the United States. The United States has never been legitimate. It's been a false democracy, and I have 2,000 hours of stream to talk about that. But this is why at the end of the day, I don't sign off on no Spider anything. I don't sign off on any Disney anything. Like I said, I don't want Moana. I don't care, because when the rubber hits the road, Disney is all cops, all American cops are awesome. Put more money into New York PD. Across the Spiderverse says build Cop City. Across the Spiderverse says Black lives don't actually matter finally, because Black lives don't need no motherfucking cops and your liberal ideology that you are the smiling fox. Putting all these black characters in your Disney movies is the white fox with a grin eating all the black people and the trans people. Because you know what trans people need? They need to end the fucking capitalism that is what is empowering both bigoted ideology. Literally, the United States fund across the world the most fucking Nazi racist shit. A lot of the problems the reason why Spider-Man was banned is being banned in places like the UAE to a large extent, right? We can't let them all off the hook, but because the United States has been funding and operating with trillions of dollars and support through the CIA, through the military, and all of these psyops across the world in the Middle East to back and fund the far right that have exterminated the burgeoning lefts in places like Afghanistan, in places like Syria, in places like the Middle East, right? The reason why it's so there's a lot of deeply conservative and queerphobic sentiment in those areas is the United States made it that way. Why? Because the United States wanted to stop and cause quagmires for Russia and China, its communist and anti-hegemonic rivals throughout the 20th century. So the United States is a planetary fox in a planetary henhouse. It is eating everyone and then telling everyone that it's the good guy. It makes the monsters in Ukraine. It fucking funds with millions of dollars. Victoria Nuland, United States cabinet of Joe Biden member, gets on the phone in 2014, installs no Nazis, neoliberal managers, right? And says, fuck the EU, we're going to install our Nazis so that we can cause problems for Russia and kill everyone in Ukraine. We don't fucking care. The United States, right? And that's a Democrat. It's a Democrat. Not that it matters, but the Democrats are the worst because they're better at getting the terrible shit done. So, you want the full service book take. That's what I don't give a fuck about any Disney anything, but I know Americans do, so I pretend to care a little bit. Pay attention though to this. Coming back to Hawaii before I go too far off into that Silver Spook land. Pay attention to this project because they're taking ag land to train the cops and military how to crush our movement. So Hawaii is an illegal occupation. In case you don't realize it. Let's exit comic book land and come to reality for a bit, and let's come to what is actually true and not live in, imperialist fantasy lands created to distract everyone while the U.S. prepares to destroy everything and have a handful of billionaires fly to Mars or live in a fucking New Zealand bunker. So in the real world, the United States is training to suppress the ongoing destruction of our native Hawaiian land by the U.S. military and by the occupation that has suppressed the world's most advanced, highest literacy rate, socialist system, universal healthcare, universal transportation, renewable powered, free electricity, nationalized electricity grid, most advanced country that invented subaquatic vehicles when Jules Verne was dreaming up 20,000 Leagues. Hawaii. The United States occupied Hawaii in the 1890s, stopped the most advanced country in the world from advancing, much like it did
Afghanistan was a country that was advancing, had better women's rights than the United States, and America put the Nazis in charge there, or the far right in charge there. Mujahideen backed them. And so the United States is the reason why we can't have nice things. Hawaii and Afghanistan, in fact. It's why nobody can have nice things, is the United States. And it's imperialism and it's capitalism that it is the champion of. And so so that's what this was about. It was about crushing our Hawaiian resistance against the colonial capitalist system that hates trans people, to be clear. If it cared about trans people, it wouldn't fund all of these global and internal far-right movements. The United States likes to pretend like it hates the GOP. The Democrats love the GOP. They're all friends. They don't fucking care. None of the GOP or the Democrats care about anyone but themselves. Fox News and MSNBC anchors, they're all good friends. They're like, we're making money for each other, making America think that there's any kind of democracy here. And when you vote for one of us or watch one of us, you're winning for that side. The U.S. is run by the same fucking people. There's one party state. And then they call other people authoritarian one party regimes. But that's because nobody knows anything. They're too busy watching stupid comic book movies, to figure anything out. The rest of the world reads history books. America watches Fantasyland movies. People pay attention. And they want the rest of the world watching Fantasyland movies so everybody else can be as stupid as Americans. So that's what this Top Cop City is about. And that's why, I cannot abide by, Spider Cop. You know what I'm saying? I cannot abide by Spider Cop that shows up in, I don't know if he shows up in Across the Spiderverse. I'm just going to say, Across the Spiderverse says all cops are good. So fuck that, I just say it because I don't like fucking giant mega corporations like Disney stealing Hawaiian culture and making shitty movies about that while having $144 million giant resorts on our stolen land, like Disney Aulani. Disney, who collaborates with the United States military to destroy and despoil and continue to eradicate Hawaiian culture. I don't fuck with Disney. Period. So there. Now you know what I actually think. But pay attention to this project, Lahui. So coming back to the Cop City thing, let's just finish it up. So it is because of indigenous Hawaiian and Mahu queer actual real world real world actual trans heroes like myself and other people, like not just me, but I mean other people who have pressured directly in a diversity of ways, in person, online, legally, and also just like physically blockading, in all kind of other ways, have pressured the United States. The government of Hawaii is illegitimate. There's no democracy in Hawaii. The United States is it's a military gas station. That's all it is. There's no in the United States there's no democracy. In Hawaii there's absolutely no democracy. This governor is a total liar and cheater and stealer, and he also is enabling the U.S. military to literally spill tens of thousands of jet fuel in our water, gallons of jet fuel, killing us all, stealing Hawaiian land. He lied. He took credit for actual Hawaiian actions anti-U.S. military actions. He took credit for it, having never shown up or supported us at all, and he got elected governor. That's to get elected in Hawaii. All you got to do is just like be the biggest simp for the U.S. empire. That's all you got to do. And then if you're the biggest one and you suck off the United States the most, then you get to be governor, mayor, representative, senator, judge. Doesn't matter. You make a lot of money. So Hawaii's Cop City was stopped by actual queer BIPOC, actual heroes that the United States will never make any movies about. Because the United States is only villains. It's the only people that they house there, super villains, and they don't make movies about anyone that matters. So I don't expect there to be any. One day, when there's a Silver Spook, media cooperative that has hundreds of thousands of people working with us, with sovereign economic Hawaiian funds under the BRICS and multipolar world. When Hawaii joins the Belt and Road and BRICS, and we get infrastructure and also digital Belt and Road, and then there's actual Hawaiian movies, not Moana, not Lilo and Stitch. Then I'll make a movie about actual heroes and games about actual heroes in the world, like all of the left, anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist, anti-racist world that the U.S. is trying to destroy. But until that time, you're gonna have to watch the stream and play Neofeud, because I can't do that. I don't have the resources to do that yet. China can make Battle of Lake Changjin, one of the greatest movies ever made. That's about actual heroes. That's amazing. You should watch Battle of Lake Changjin, about how the United States got its imperialist, capitalist, genocidal war in Korea ass kicked with Koreans and Chinese and communists fighting them. That's an actual movie about actual heroes, but you can't get that in the West. So until that happens, you gotta just listen to the stream. So Silver Spook, I saw Big Tail says Silver Spook Media. So I hope that one day we get that. So anyways, I don't know. There was an attempt to make a actual Hawaiian, like it was gonna be like a Matrix, Matrix or imagine a comic book universe, right? Imagine a comic book universe but it's from a Hawaiian anti-colonial, anti-capitalist perspective that expands, centuries. Imagine like, a series of movies like, not Volcano Man, but it was a cyber. I was involved in it. It's called Black Sand Hawaii. You can't even find it now, but it had Hawaiian and former Hollywood Black, indigenous Hawaiian artists, creators, people who did the Matrix bullet time in the Matrix movies from Hollywood. They came to Hawaii because they're sick of Hollywood was like basically gutting all of the left and all of the, black and brown energy that was like, making things like Coming to America. And when Michael Jackson got himself, his anniversary of his death is coming up, when they kind of like when the United States said fuck Michael Jackson, then they threw him, they threw lawfare at him, they tarred his name and everything. In that time, some people came to Hawaii and they're trying to start up like a Hawaiian, actual like Hawaiian perspective, Hawaiian Hollywood that would like be a counter to U.S. Imperial Hollywood. And the United States basically said no and like destroyed us. I was actually working on a project for that at one point. It was called Black Sand Hawaii. There's people like Peter Britos that I've talked about this previously. And so we didn't have the power and the economic sovereignty, political and economic is the most important, sovereignty and power to do it. But one day soon, the United States is falling apart. One day soon, we're going to have an actual based movies, games, and media verse from Hawaii. And not just Hawaii, all over the world, In other parts of the world, they already got this. There's RRR is a really cool movie coming from India. It's not a perfect movie, but I mean, it's about anti-colonialism and it's about anti-colonial struggles inside of India, right? Space Sweepers is a Korean movie that has Chinese funding that is actually based about why we don't need space white supremacy billionaire imperialism. They're not coming out of the United States though, and nowhere the United States funds. This movie's Boots Riley. If you can piece together enough defectors from Hollywood and enough Army Hammers that are built, when Army Hammer first he had like billions of dollars, just threw it at Boots Riley. Then you might get a black communist movie like Sorry to Bother You like one time. But then it's really hard to find anything. It's really hard. You have to basically find people that are like swan sonning out of Hollywood, throwing their star power and their name recognition, their star power at an actual based movie to get one, and you rarely get one. Mostly it's just garbage. Like, I'm not saying this is total garbage, but when it comes to like the most important topics, there's nothing that Hollywood will ever put out that's of a blockbuster scale that will ever be important or good in any way. So because it's the United States. I'm way off though of the topic. It's 12:25. So, and I'm talking really fast. I should probably slow down. So in my defense, I didn't get very much sleep. I had a really weird, fucked up sleep with all kind of weird nightmares and noise, and I went to bed late because I had to do things. I had to do projects. And I'm not talking about the topic that I said, so let me try to reel it back in. Let me read a comment. Monogatsu says, how sad it would have been interesting to see what could have come from that. Yeah. No, I mean I agree. It would have been really great to see what had come from that, It would have been great if Michael Jackson when Michael Jackson made They Don't Really Care About Us, right? When Michael Jackson made When They Don't Really Care About Us, and talked about being attacked by the United States under the legal system, about black mass brutality by the police and at the hands of the United States, and incarceration and the ongoing racism that wasn't being dealt with. And Michael Jackson made it doesn't matter if you're black or white, healed the world, right? And then eventually he realized the world is not healing. The United States is getting worse. It's like, thought we were going to get better. No, we're going down. And then the United States and Hollywood and all their collaborators conspired to basically annihilate him. So it would have been great to see what would have happened, because if there was a bigger push in that time, right? There could have been the U.S. could have been a different place. Even James Cameron made a movie. It was called Strange Days. It centered police brutality of people of color, and then trying to cover it up. right? And then huge things, riots ensue. I mean, obviously it's not the most base movie ever. No, sorry, Catherine Bigelow's James Cameron's partner. But there was like parts of the U.S. media landscape were starting to move in a direction, and then basically the imperial managers at Wall Street and D.C. and all the neocons, all of Brzezinski's friends, which is all of Clinton's friends, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, all of future people who would work with Obama, Biden's fucking friends, right? Biden was in there doing his crime bill in his time, right? Crime bill Biden, and then Michael Jackson was like, "Fuck you, we're not gonna all be beaten up and put down for trying to ask that the United States treat people of color properly and stop pushing this terrible system that's making so many people impoverished and homeless." And the U.S. said, maybe we'll just keep doing that, and then we'll start wars in 7 countries in 7 years, and it was called the Bush years. And in that time, it's kind of like there's always been an underground of people trying to do something positive, but it just keeps on getting crushed and crushed and crushed. And that's why I don't know. I don't, like I said, I don't like representation is great. And Spider-Punk is a black punk character, and that's cool. Like they're trying to do Jordan Peele. I feel like part of I feel like Jordan Peele's Wendell and Wild. Jordan Peele is another person who actually does something actual good stuff sometimes, But he has to fight to get it done, And the U.S. is constantly Jordan Peele's movies are constantly about trying to say what I want to say without having the liberal foxes that run the Western capitalist world distort, contort, and weaponize his blackness against black and the masses for white supremacy and capitalism. That's like Jordan Peele's and so and I feel like Jordan Peele's black punk characters in Wendell and Wild and the style and animation, I feel like that has an influence on what's going on in. I can't confirm you the whole paper trail of that. I don't have all the receipts for that, but it feels very similar to what's happening here. But Wendell and Wild doesn't have a cop out, where it's like we have to fund the U.S. police some more, Wendell and Wild. I mean, as far as I know, Jordan Peele is not like taking billions of dollars and working with the military-industrial complex in Wall Street to some huge level. I mean, I don't know, maybe I could be wrong, but I mean, I don't think so. I mean, it's all about literal toxic prisons, which is, whereas, anything Disney is just tainted by, and I've talked a lot about Disney, like last stream, I think I talked a bunch, or in the Quantum Mania, I talked about Disney as a history, right? The Mickey Mouse ears represented American empire for the last 70 years, everywhere around the world. When Donald Duck showed up in South America, when Mickey Mouse ears landed in even Europe, when the McDonald's show up in Asia, the McDonald's arches, the baseball, the Mickey Mouse ears, these are synonymous with America, especially worldwide, and there's economic, the deep, when we talk about branding and name recognition and star power, right? And the meaning of names, the value of names, images, likenesses, right? The value of Disney stems from its U.S.ian hegemonic, or what they would call the United States light side, the world of order and good, right? The U.S. rules-based order. Disney is like basically conjoined at the hip with that because of its almost a century of being a world-leading U.S. imperial a flag itself of the United States, to the world. Like people like in South America would look up when they watch Donald Duck, a U.S. Navy member, and love. It was about making the world love the U.S. military, love the United States, think the United States is there to save them, which it absolutely is not. Ask Vietnam. The United States is pushing Taiwan, that has actually started war games 30 to 40 miles off of Vietnam's coast right now. And the Vietnamese government is like, please stop doing that. The United States pretends to be everyone's friend. The United States as a whole is the giant liberal fox going, we love you, Vietnam. We definitely will never eat you. We would never eat you. It's not like we've ever eaten you in the past. Like, let's say, I don't know, several decades ago, where we bombed your entire fucking country in the Stone Age. Yeah, make some products for us, make some shirts, and U.S. will never hurt you, Vietnam. Oh, actually, you know what we need to do? We need to make a proxy war against China, and then Vietnam, we're going to bomb you back into the Stone Age to cause a Ukraine-like quagmire there. So have a war game and have a Taiwanese-Vietnam war. Did we say that we care about you, Koreans? We absolutely have never killed 2 million of you and plunged your entire country into the most nightmarish hell ever. That Squid Game is actually about. We love you, Korea. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, Korea, we're going to have to, like, destroy your entire country, much like Ukraine. backing the far right and imperialist forces there, and in Japan to cause quagmires for China, our number one competitor. Also, the way we cause problems for Russia, our other major competitor. So, did we say we are your friend? Did we say we were your friend? Black people in America, we love you. We look at all the black characters. Look, we finally made a Black Falcon. we made a Black Captain America. We love you. Look at the Black Spider-Man. We love you, trans and black and brown people. Oh shit, we gotta build 25,000 more cop cities because we gotta basically crush everything good in America and kill thousands of black people. So we gotta keep making money. So sorry about that. Sorry about that. That's why the Democrats are the worst, man. The liberals, the GOP is much easier to deal with because they just say, well, yeah, we love white supremacy is awesome. Sig Heil. And the Democrats are like, I love black people. So you gotta really watch that. You know, that's why I'm like, I don't want to do any service for any of these entities. The liberal entertainment companies, the liberal parties, the liberal corporations of any kind, especially the ones that pretend to love Hawaiians. They love to pretend to love Hawaiians. Josh Green is over there like, I'll have my Hawaiian wife and I had such a good time supporting Hawaiians. Well, what were you supporting us when you enabled the TMT and you fucking backed the U.S. Cop City? Only now pulling back because we made a huge uproar about it, right? How did you support Hawaiians? By never showing up to a Hawaiian action against Red Hill, taking money from Lockheed Martin and the U.S. military for your campaign, and then taking credit for our actions. Governor Josh Green of Hawaii, fraudulent, fake state of Hawaii, Governor Josh Green of Hawaii, you fucking corrupt bastard. So that's why, Hawaii's all liberals. That's why I know the most about liberals. Hawaii is by far the most democratic of all fucking states. It's disgusting. It's all foxes in Hawaii. Some states of the United States, they have a few wolves, maybe half wolves, like the Mississippi, you got like more wolves. But, in Hawaii, it's all fucking foxes, man. That's why Hawaii's the worst, literally. Economically, racially, politically, police, mass incarceration, the highest rate. Hawaiians, 4 times more likely to go to prison than whites. Black, it's 2.5. Hawaii's the worst because there's the most Democrats here. That's why. They're the best at getting Nazism done. So anyways, that's why people keep telling me this week, vote for this, vote for that. I'm like, if I vote for a Democrat, it might actually result in worse things. Even though Republicans say worse things, Democrats get the worst things done. As Malcolm X correctly pointed out. And then, you know what? Liberals massacred. Malcolm X said, liberals are the most dangerous. The white moderate. Martin Luther King was like, white moderate liberals are the worst thing. And the white moderate liberals took a bunch of guns out and then murdered them. And then it was like, we love Martin Luther King. I see Pelosi's kneeling in a kente cloth, wearing a Martin Luther King helmet. Like, I love Martin Luther King, even though I killed him. So anyways, that's an important topic when it comes to I know I'm not talking about spider trans right now. I'm like way off into the other topics that come up. But to bring it back to the comic book world and to bring it back to the small world of the Western mind, I think that we should support trans rights, and that's very important. And we need to if Gwen Stacy is a trans person, that's great. More power to Gwen Stacy. That's fine. Miles Morales, representation is good, and that's fine. I won't go off about, but I will say representation within a terrible structure is worse than no representation. In the same way that a wolf is less dangerous than a fox, I don't want representation in the United States. I want Hawaii to be a sovereign country. I want Hawaii to have the end of the U.S. occupation, and the more Hawaiians that watch Moana, Lilo, and Stitch and believe themselves to solidify, as Victoria Nuland, professional country overthrower, would say, to glue the coup, right? If representation, if a Moana or Lilo and Stitch helps glue the U.S. coup of Hawaii by having Hawaiians love the U.S. and see themselves as Americans more, and not care too much about the other things and not think about it, I don't want any Moana and Lilo and Stitch. I'd rather none. I'd rather no Hawaiian representation in the United States by the United States making money for the United States corporations, right? I'd rather none than representation that solidifies and pulls us into the fox's mouth. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather Hawaiians see the wolf for what it is. Be like, there's no Hawaiians in any. If no Hawaiians ever show up again in a U.S. movie, that would be great. And Hawaiians, we can make our own movies. Because that's what it does. It stops Hawaiians from taking control of our economic future, of our cultural future, of our cinematic future, and leaving that to the United States to dole out to us, like alcohol in a dollar store on an Indian reservation on an indigenous person's stolen land. Oh, thank you so much for that daily dole. You ask people who actually built economic sovereignty. So, that's, so I think that, and for trans people as well, I don't think trans people should, I think most trans people in the United States realize that, like, the United States is not here for them. I hope they do. I hope they do that. When the Democrats, when it comes to it, the New York Times is going to wave their trans flag. As soon as they can make some money, they throw them under the bus. That's why New York Times, when they were like, oh, it looks like we have to turn J.K. Rowling's way, they're like, fuck trans people, right? If the police are assaulting and killing trans people, and the Democrats and the liberals are like, well, let's give them more money. How does that empower trans people? There's that map where, like, look, with all of this GOP legislation, all the trans people are moving to these states. Come to these states. In a certain sense, like the red areas that are making it hard to get medical care, Medicare for trans, get their estrogen and all those things. Those are terrible things, right? In the long run, I don't think the solution is that what we do is everyone move to a blue state. Number one, don't move to Hawaii, because Hawaii's always on those maps. Hawaii is not an American state. People in the United States, and I'm not saying this is not to say like trans people have to do this, but the United States the people inside the United States have to solve, organize, and deal with their problems in the United States that cannot be dealt with by voting one party or another in the long term. In the short term, there's going to be like a really scary character like DeSantis come out, and then people are like, oh my God, we got to do, and like, if you got to survive, I understand, you got to survive, you do what you got to do. But in the long run, the people who call themselves Americans, the people who work for, fund, pay taxes to, and benefit from the United States of America, which are disproportionately white and disproportionately straight, but it doesn't matter if you're not white and you're not straight. You still, as an American, if you identify as American, your responsibility is not the responsibility of the United States government to help you, actually. The United States government is a plutocracy. Their responsibility is to eat you and kill you, take all your money, your labor value, and oppress you when it helps them. Of whatever party. The United States is not legitimate. Your responsibility is to, as a so-called, even if you accept the tyranny, even if you accept Thomas Jefferson's word, it is the responsibility of the people, if the government is corrupt and unjust, to undo it. And so that's your responsibility. It's not, it is not, and the idea that you can vote your way out of this is, I don't know. It's actually like, it would be better if there were no elections in the United States ever again, and everybody actually organized and withheld their economic power, which is why I support the writer's strike and the actor's strike and the teacher strikes that are happening, nurses strikes and strikes at all the Amazon and everywhere else. Take your economic power, take your political power, take that into your actual own hands, right? The way that people have actually liberated places. One of our Hawaiians is studying the Venezuelan changes that happened with the communism there, where the local communities and barrios became self-sustaining units who controlled their land, the agricultural and industrial output, so that when the U.S. embargoes came, when the big stick came out, the Venezuelans could survive internally. Same thing for Cuba, same thing for all these places that have actually stopped unjust entities from crushing them under capitalist racist structures. And Americans have to figure out how they're going to do that for themselves. And also interlinking with other powers across the world to help them with that, which also includes taking your head out of your American ass and thinking that you are Superman, also, but also taking, you know what I'm saying. So I think that at the end of the day, having a positive representation anywhere is better than having zero. That's true. But then there's also representation that enables behaviors and mindsets that can be also net destructive if it enables terrible actors, right, like the U.S. plutocracy empire, to get away with more than if they didn't, right? Like a good example is having a Black Lives Matter campaign, or for the U.S. Marines, right? having a trans flag on the side of your side of your F-35 and going like, trans people join the military, right? In Hawaii, there's military recruitment campaigns. We just drove by a school. We drove by a local high school, and there's a giant Air Force flag on the side of the Hawaiian high school. Right? You go to like the biggest shopping center in this island. There's a Navy, Army, Marines, Air Force recruitment center right next to the movie theater. Like, you watch your imperialist Avengers, you watch your imperialist Hollywood movie, and then you get out and you join the military. It's like 1, 2. There's Army and Navy and Marines and Air Force ads all over that thing. So you literally, again, that's like, you can see it. I mean I can see it. Most Americans have no clue what they couldn't tell. They couldn't tell black from white, up from down. But it's like, if you're paying attention, it's like, this is how this system is functioning, and like, this is why, part of why we're keep being destroyed, because Hawaiians watch these American movies, play the American games, love the United States, sign up, empower the United States Empire, and now they're wrapped up inside of their veterans groups. They're all like hearting the American flag. They're not doing what they need to be doing to actually liberate ourselves and stop the destruction of our lands and the entire planet. They're complicit in the U.S. Empire, killing people in Iraq, Afghanistan, as Hawaiians, for the empire that destroyed us. So literally, Hollywood movies, like, there is a pipeline. There is a Western media, Western entertainment to the empire, to evil pipeline, straight up. Even doesn't matter how many representation. Actually, the more, again, if it was all white guys, again, that's not good for people, just for people of color to see, like, as in a certain sense. But if it was all white guys in the Avengers, then people might go, what? I'm a Hawaiian. Why am I gonna sign up to fight for this racist empire? It actually, like, it would make the movies flop, and then we would get what we need, which is to be telling our own stories, making our own revenue from our own stories, building our own agricultural land and industrial Hawaiian output outside of the U.S. military and the U.S. fucking fake tourism, internationally owned tourism industry. If we're going to have tourism, it should be our own sovereign, economically beneficial, culturally non-prostitutional, because U.S. does cultural prostitution, tourism, not working for some other destructive force. So, but anyway, that's a lot of, like, again, I keep saying I'm going to come back to the topic, but this is related. When I say it's a hard conversation to talk about, in part is because I don't want to seem like I don't like trans people. I mean, as a trans person, it's not like I'm against trans people, or I'm against obviously black people. Like, I'm kind of, it's about, like, what is the net impact of these, I know a lot of people, not everybody agrees with me with my Moana take, which is I don't want any Moana. I don't want a Disney Moana. I want Hawaiian, anti-imperialist. I want Hawaiian Man, made by actual Hawaiians. I don't want Moana. I don't want white people telling Hawaiian stories with Hawaiian faces in the front. I don't want United States. I don't want our oppressors making money telling our stories. And again, I think trans people should not want their own oppressors making money pretending to care about them, I think, but I can't tell them what they want. I can't tell what white trans people or other American trans people should want. So anyways, so that's what I mean when I talk about that. When I talk about the what that means. So I keep saying I'm gonna, like, take it down, but I'm today. I didn't get a lot of sleep, so it's hard for me to control the rate of the flamethrower that comes out. I just made a video about Pele and treating your Earth Mother right, otherwise you get your face burned off and incinerated and destroyed by the volcano goddess. And a lot of times, I have a very Pele-ish energy, which is like, it's hard to control when the lava stops flowing. It's hard to stop it, and it will bulldoze everything in its path, And it's all righteous rage, but it's very hard to control it sometimes. And the less sleep I have, the less I can control the lava thrower. So anyways, but let me find the shoot. There's a one thing that I want to talk about that I missed, and it is the it was an article about Across the Spiderverse, several articles. Okay. When you type in trans in Spiderverse, it's the first thing that comes up. And so Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse banned in the United Arab Emirates, likely due to protect trans lives poster. So number one is not exactly clear, but again, this is Western media that is saying this. And so it's I think Garland Nixon, who is an anti-imperialist black person who has is a host of the Critical Hour, which is a good show to actually learn geopolitics and stuff from a non-imperial perspective, and talk about like it's the same kind of stance. It's the same kind of difficult place that I am in also, which is like, because Garland was basically saying, I'm not anti-trans, I support LGBTQ plus people, but when LGBTQ plus issues are cynically used to further U.S. hegemonic imperial interests, right? Like in Uganda was one, then we should. I mean, I want to call out that's terrible, and it hurts people, and it actually doesn't ultimately empower LGBTQ plus people in a global sense, right? It makes some people in the West feel good about it, like they supported something and they shared this article, right, about how Uganda had a anti-gay bill, which is that's not a good thing to have. But what the United States said, Uganda has to be stopped. The Ugandan government is terrible. We have to engender interventionist. What the ultimate aim is to engender a sense that African, Asian, other non-Western countries need the United States and its friends to help them because they are backward behind, and U.S. can save Uganda. But the United States, what it doesn't tell you in its articles is that Uganda had American, U.S. Conservatives funded with millions and millions of dollars this push to get an anti-gay bill passed. And so the United States literally created that problem, and then for its more LGBTQ plus supporting peoples, it put out this other an article that said we can help stop it, or suggesting that we need to intervene there, in which the United States is intervening there all the time in Africa and all around the world, and in Uganda as well, as a justification for why we need to put more money, more energy, more intervention, more maybe military intervention. Maybe we got to coup that country, And so that's why a lot of the global South and people in the rest of the world, when they hear LGBTQ plus things coming from the United States, it's like, oh no, are you going to try to overthrow us? Are you going to try to attack us? Are you going to undo our government? Are you going to install a terrible regime that's going to liquidate all of our population and suck all the resources out and hurt us? And so it creates this like really messed up situation where some people can interpret that when LGBTQ plus comes up, it has a very negative connotation, not necessarily because individuals don't support queer people anywhere, but because of the way that it has been the LGBTQ plus and the pride flag, the rainbow flags have been weaponized by Western imperialist, ultimately anti-LGBTQ plus forces like the United States, NATO, etc. And so like when you see articles like this, like number one, like countries are in different places, and historically they have different histories, and people have to work through places have to work through problems. Even before colonialism, nobody was perfect, right? And people have different cultures and situations that they have to work through. Like Hawaii was not a perfect place. We had a lot of positive things, that I try to share with in my social media and on these streams. But like there was not zero problems, right? There's differences between islands. There's still like love, love triangle. People who got upset because of bad relationships, romantic relationships. That always happens. Like crimes of passion sometimes will happen. People will get upset. People are not non-humans before the colonial capitalist world, but and so places that like have more conservative, like even like I'm referring to Carl Zhao, who's a Chinese person, admits China has there's conservative people that are there, especially the men, and so that they have culturally, socially, they have different norms, and then they have to internally they're working within themselves to work through these issues, And there's different protest struggles, and there's very heated debate sometimes internally to the countries. But then there's another massive, like, I would argue it's a magnitudes more terrible thing when a capitalist entity that literally only cares about selfish benefit for itself to the loss and detriment of everyone else takes actual, these kind of social issues and then turns them into these methods by which to, like, and funds usually the far right side of it in attempt to crush the other side or attempt to cause wedges to destabilize and disrupt and cause chaos inside of countries as a pretext internally to do basically whatever they want, right? Shock doctrine it's not the same as shock doctrine, but basically, but it is kind of shocking and disrupting a society to subordinate that entire country and hurt everyone, right? So it's taking people who are queer in a place might have grievances against their wider community, like the black community, a community in Uganda, a community in China, the communities in Vietnam have internal discrepancies. They're like, I would like to let's have more gender affirming care, which, by the way, China and Vietnam both have no anti-abortion laws, and they have gender affirming care for trans people. You can actually buy estrogen. Speaking of trans rights, you can buy estrogen in China just by walking up to any store. It's easy as buying, like, it's almost as easy as buying like a bag of rice or a can of soda. In the United States, it's like people are like, half the country is like, I don't know if I'm going to ever be able to get this. I'm getting arrested for being trans, just going to the bathroom. Like, what is happening here, right? So the reality is a lot of the rest of the world is much further along in their own internal discussions and internal struggles and internal, in their internal struggles and internal, work to empower marginalized people, queer people, other people that, the problems in the society, cultural problems to be fixed, are on the path to being fixed in many cases. And the United States comes in, and the West comes in, and then pushes everything backwards for its benefit. And then goes, oh, look how backwards they are. We have to go back and recolonize them to fix it. Right? So it's really like, if I think if most peoples of the world were allowed to just how, as what we want in a multipolar world, which China is leading, not the United States, where we have everybody has self-determination, everyone is allowed to practice their culture, practice their language, not be subordinated to a colonial power sucking their resources out. The more impoverished countries being lifted up into a more equal, in an international nation-to-nation sense situation, then internally people will be able to, work through their own issues and traumas and history, work to make things actually better. And when Western imperialist powers interfere, that actually is what is pushing everything so much further backwards. So anyway, that's like a very, it's hard to talk about it, especially in the United States. Almost even the average American is using everything for their own personal. Everyone is a mini American empire. They're like, how can I weaponize this trans issue, pretend to care about it, or attack it disingenuously to make a lot of money making YouTube videos, posting on Twitter, selling video games for some giant corporation. That's anti-SJW and sometimes disingenuous pro LGBTQ plus and pro black and brown stuff like Disney, right, is weaponized on a smaller scale for personal benefit without actually necessarily helping those people, and this is one of those situations, I think, where I shouldn't say like what this exactly is, but when you see the Arab world is coming out from U.S. imperialism. China just brokered peace in Yemen. It's one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. Hundreds of thousands of children and innocent people dying, being blown up, slaughtered, with the United States supporting all of that militarization and the war. And China came in and brokered peace, had Saudi Arabia and Iran sit down together. Everyone talking about peace and end of hostilities and death and destruction. Anyone who cares about hunger and war and violence and suffering and impoverishment, it doesn't matter which of these regimes you love. It's like there is positive change happening there, and it's not because of the United States. And I think that part of the reason why you're seeing a lot of these articles is because the United States is going, well, you see, we're better than them, and we have to, America and Europe and the Western U.S. and its vassals have to go back in and fix the Middle East again. So trans, LGBTQ plus, and LGBTQ plus supporting Americans, sign up for the military, and let's go back and blow up the Middle East again. And that maybe they'll get trans rights after that, But the reality is, there's nothing that the West can do. What the West and the United States can do is sit the fuck down, shut up, fix their own internal problems, and don't interfere with anyone else ever again. And the world will be a better place. You know, again, I mean that not just because the U.S. and the West and capitalist superpowers like the United States are the worst thing on the planet, destroying everything, but also because internally is where these things can be solved. They can't be solved by one country coming to another country, even if it is like, you guys need to have more LGBTQ plus rights, right? But like China, which has more LGBTQ plus gender affirming care, doesn't invade America, right? You don't see Chinese naval ships and Vietnamese naval ships landing. You don't see Vietnamese aircraft flying over America, blowing it up, and then going, okay, maybe we'll bring you some gender affirming care and stop your. China is not trying to stop America's anti-abortion ban, right? And China is more LGBTQ plus progressive than America. China isn't showing up in America, blowing it up, and then claiming to, okay, now we're gonna fix it. China isn't actually interfere. Canada is playing this ridiculous game of we're gonna blame China for. It's like the United States blaming Russia for Hillary Clinton losing. Now Canada's liberals are blaming China for Trudeau having problems. But China isn't actually interfering in your country, trying to make you do anything, because that's not the way that actual changes can make. Now, there can be influence to be like, hey, stop doing this, or we're not going to, we can't do with you if you're going to be doing all these wars. We can't work with you if you're going to be attacking us all day long. China is being very nice with that, right? But it's kind of like, ultimately, in the longer run, it's the truth, which is that, as I said, it's not really... Nobody outside, no Superman and no Spider-Man is going to save America. No Biden or no Democrat or Republican is going to save America. Cornel West is not going to save America. I mean, Cornel West, I know he's on Black Power Media, and that's great. And, he said a lot of true things, obviously. But one elected person is not going to save anything. The electoral democracy, maybe we should just cancel that whole entire thing, right? Really, I think it's one of the worst things ever invented. Electoral democracy was the invention of the fox in some ways, right? It's kind of like, oh yeah, this government will definitely care about you. Don't take it into your own hands, right? It's kind of like don't actually work and organize within your community. Just spend 15 minutes every 4 years, give it to some person that represents you in somewhere called the capital, and everything will get fixed somehow, right? That idea is it's easier than spending 3 hours a week organizing with your community to spend 15 minutes in a voting booth and then just screw off the rest of the time. The reality is, if you really want, people tell you we have to organize, but that takes time and energy. It does. People, you gotta, and then what Americans, the West wants to do is go, you can have your cake and eat it too. You can just check out, watch whatever shitty movies, right? Watch the infotainment, so-called political discussions, and then just come in and drop your little ballot in this ridiculous little box, pretending like you have representation. So, that's topics that are off the topic, yeah. Also, Big Teal says, while U.S. is experiencing cultural decline, China had its international film festival, which was amazing. The thing is, I would really recommend anyone, if you want to take a vacation, don't visit Hawaii. We're trying to get out from U.S. occupation. You can visit China if you can, visit Cuba. You're going to be blown away. You're going to be like, holy shit. I mean, how the heck can we let our infrastructure in America, how can we let our people be homeless when they have no homeless here? How can we let people lie? How can I pay? Why am I paying how can people pay 10% or less of their income for housing so that even the average Chinese person can eat out 3, 4, 5 times a week? I can't even eat out one time a week as a millennial, Gen Z, Gen Alpha American, right? You will be blown away by how much better everything is in these other countries. Healthcare, housing, education. There's no fascist. You're not constantly scared the police are going to murder you when you have a stop if you're not the color of printer paper, right? You will be blown the fuck away. A lot of black people, they go to China. I'm never going back to America. Are you kidding me? Why would I want to go back to that shithole? I mean, it's shitty to be white in America. It's worse to be white in America than to be black in China. Why the hell would I be black in America? Because people fuck this. I literally know many people. They're like, I'm out of here. I'm gone. I'm out of here. And the thing is, it's again, it's valid at the same. It's kind of I hope some people, inside also think about what they can do internally. But it's also, we can't. People make these decisions. But I hope that people. What I really hope people happen. I heard somebody say as a communist inside the United States, I will. I'm not going anywhere. I gotta stop this terrible system that's destroying us all. And which is also important, for people to take ownership for the country and take ownership for the places that they are in, and responsibility for the things that are done in their name. And if you want to wave your American flag, if you want to watch your American Disney movies, if you want to be proud American, you have to take all up when somebody like myself comes tells you the truth. They're like, you have a lot to not be proud of. You have to own that, and you have to do something about that. Not just be sad and go, oh, I'm going to cry because America hurt me. You are America. You make up the future of that place. Well, but this is this wiggly squiggly bullshit. I hate this stuff where it's like, you're American as long as it's nice and you get the benefits, you get the imperial power, you get your whatever identity sense is tingling, right? But then when it comes to everything that your country has done and that has actually helped you above other places, like Hawaii, in fact, like South Central America, Africa, then you don't want it. You have to own that. That's your country. You have a responsibility to fix that. So that's the thing that, and that's when you visit other place, you can realize how much more you could be, how much better you could be if people actually like took, obviously I can't tell you exactly how to fix it, but I tell you, it could be more than just voting. I tell you that. Yeah, cause, there's recently been some difficulties in some spaces where it's like, I basically was kind of like trying to tell my perspective as a native Hawaiian and as a colonized person. And they're like, it's a very American space. And they're like, well, that hurts our feelings. And I'm like, it hurts your feelings? Imagine what it feels like to literally have the Hawaiian beaten out of your mom and then having been genocided. It hurts you to hear about your American genocide of Hawaiians. Imagine how it feels to fucking undergo it, and that's another word where it's like, you can be of a marginalized identity. I'm a queer person in America. I'm a disabled person in America. Yeah. And, and that's valid, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, I'm this in America. Yeah. And I said, and you're still in America. You're not in a colony, and I'm like, well, being a white disabled person in an upper class suburb in America is the same as being a colonized Brazilian or a colonized African, someone in Vietnam in the war. I know the experience of the colonized in the global South because I was disabled and I had trouble shopping one time, or I have difficulty with this. And I'm not saying that that's nothing, but this is the thing that really pisses me off is when people go, well, I understand the global South and I don't really need to own up to my empire actually. And I just want to center myself. You centering yourself is why this world's fucking falling apart. You have to uncenter yourself, comrade, and be here for all the people that your country is making life way fucking worse. There are people who don't have the luxury of being able to stream and do discourse and tweet because they have no electricity because your country is taking all of, for example, Niger's electricity along with France. Your country is why Afghanistan, over half of it, can't turn on any device to talk about their problems on a panel or because they have no internet, let alone electricity, because y'all fucking bombed them into the Stone Age and they don't have a toilet, and also they're full of far right because of you. How are the disabled people in Afghanistan? They've been disabled because they have the entire body blown up, right? But then there's a lot of people, there's a certain class of people that have been very privileged to the life, and they have this one thing that is, it's not nothing, but then they make their whole identity about having this one, I have this disability in mentally or physically, and that's valid. I'm also disabled. I'm a queer, indigenous, fucking disabled, colonized person, fucker. And you think you're white, queer? You think it's just your one white disability that mommy and daddy has been helping you with your whole fucking life, and you have access to resources, and your whole fucking family hasn't been fucking genocided and brainwashed to the point that I can't talk to them, and your entire island is dying? You think you're one little thing? You think that and then you can do nothing because it's hard for you to hear what I'm saying? Okay, I guess I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I'm too busy trying to liberate people having way more fucking problems than you, asshole. So, yeah. So anyway, and it's like I'm trying to be nice, but sometimes I'm like, maybe I should just tell them what they are. But anyways, we're at 1 o'clock, and I'm kind of like off my topic, but that's a thing that I think that people have to recognize that as well, which is that like when you whatever identities that you are, right, there are always people that are gonna. And to be clear, like as a Native Hawaiian, that's still like there's people that are way worse off than me. There's people that are way worse off all over the world. Even under a U.S. colony of the U.S. occupation of Hawaii, which is terrible. It's like I could be in Afghanistan. I could like. When they bomb in Hawaii, at least they don't bomb on top of my head. They're bombing all over Hawaii. Hawaii has more U.S. military explosions than anywhere else in the so-called United States per capita, right? Hawaii has the most per acre U.S. military presence that is literally spilling jet fuel, PFAS, everything you can imagine. They're bombing 30 miles from where I am talking, They bomb a lot, especially when Hawaiians come out to try to stop this destruction, right? And Hawaiians have the worst prison rate, impoverishment rate, homelessness rate, police murder rate, everything, shortest life expectancy, you fucking name it, But still, if I'm not gonna be like, oh, so as a Native Hawaiian, I know what it's like to have been in Vietnam and been eating grasshoppers with no toilet. I'm like, we always had a toilet, When I was growing up as a Native Hawaiian, we were drinking lead and fucking U.S. F-35 fuel, getting poisoned. But at the same time, I had a toilet. Like I could turn the light on. Like I was drinking jet fuel or like some poison, not tainted water. My language was banned when I was born, but at least I wasn't eating crickets with no electricity. Like I was like not speaking Hawaiian, but I could turn the light on, so that was nice. But there's billions of people can't do that because of that your country. So and to be like, oh, I have it just as bad as them, because one time there was a rolling blackout, and then within 2 hours it was fixed because I'm so privileged. Even as an underprivileged person in the United States, you're not going to get close to the places that America. Did you wake up and then not die today standing outside your house? It's kind of maybe I don't want Americans. I don't want California, Michigan, and Florida to be a giant craterscape, and all the white suburbs be full of dead people blown up by someone else's bombs. But it's kind of like we don't want any war. But it's kind of like America hasn't had that happen to it. You haven't had everywhere from California to New York be scarred and irradiated and ripped to pieces. So shut your fucking mouth, because you're doing that right now. You're doing that right now to the rest of the world. You're threatening to do that right now in Taiwan, in Vietnam, in the Philippines, using Hawaii as an Indo-Pacific command. So shut your fucking mouth about how hard you have it, because you are not living in a irradiated craterscape with a military occupation massacring 16-year-olds like you did in Fallujah. Ask your black, brown, and white cousin who went and massacred 16-year-olds how that felt for them. How would it feel if you haven't had China, Russia come in and wipe you out? You haven't, and they're not going to do that. But shut your fucking mouth when you talk about, oh, I know what it's like to be there. Because I also don't, but I accept that there are people that have it worse. And that's part of why we have solidarity with them. But when you're an American and you're talking about, I have it the worst in the goddamn world, you are erasing their experiences of your war zones and your sanctions, and you are centering yourself, and you are skirting your own responsibility to fix your country's problems. So anyway, I had to say that somewhere because I've been feeling that with some discussions. And it's like, oh, well, you have to be civil, because people are saying like, Hakeem is Iraqi. You have to be civil. You have to be civil. You have to be nice to Americans. And Hakeem's like, fuck you. Your American soldiers deserve to die. And then the American was like, if they kill himself, that's well, that's one person who didn't deserve to live. And that's a person but America hasn't had their entire fucking country obliterated. So you try and be civil after your entire country gets blown to pieces. And it's like, if you want to work with the rest of the world that's coming out, you have to like accept that is what your country has done, continues to try to do, and you don't tell people who you are massacring to care about your little fucking white feelings. Anyways, even your little American feelings of whatever identities. You have to care about your little fucking feelings. How about you stop your country doing this shit, and then we'll talk about that. Anyways, I gotta stop going off about that because it's really infuriating. So and if you don't like that take, I don't care. So Many countries are more accepting of LGBTQ plus people. So speaking of LGBTQ plus people, it's important that people know, you know, because it is true. Because we're talking about across the Spider-Tran verse. I'm sorry, Spider-Tran and Spider-Trans and the across the Spider-Verse. But you know, it is true that coming back to the topic, many countries are far more accepting of LGBTQ plus people and give them access to the gender affirming care and needs than the United States and other Western countries. For example, right? This is in China. It took 120 seconds to walk into pharmacy and get medication. Buying estrogen in China is super easy. Why are we seeing all these? Oh, China hates black people. China didn't watch Little Mermaid because they're racist. China didn't like this movie because they're racist, right? The United States is constant. The West is putting out these articles because it's trying to make Americans and the Westerners feel good about themselves. It's literally trying to empower, make you feel, again, like it's doing that same thing. It's trying to go, well, America's bad, but China's way worse. Right? America's bad, but like lots of other places are worse. So I don't have to do anything because they're worse. I'm having a hard time. And look, they're terrible. The reality is, no, you're the fucking worst. You're the worst. And you're participating in being the worst by, again, alleviating yourself of the responsibility, right? By eating American propaganda about other countries that's not even true. It literally took 120 seconds to walk into pharmacy and get meds. Buying estrogen in China is easy. As I gotta say, it's like getting Pop-Tarts, you know? It's like going to the store and getting some gas. I'm gonna get some gas, I'm gonna get some estrogen. Go to the store, buy estrogen. The pharmacy is the closest in my UD. All I gotta do is show the old box to the pharmacist. Happy International. Oh, this is from International Women's Day, but you know, and then you know, this is about LGBTQ+. I just wanted to make that comment because I did bring that up and I wanted to kind of show that on the screen. Also, this is me being indigenous and queer and not being eradicated. Also, I'm into vinyl, so literally I am inside of vinyl right now in this shot, and I just finished editing a video where I will be wearing this along with several other outfits, being a volcano goddess. Who wants to watch the debut of that video live? If I get at least 3 people, I know there's only 4 people in the chat right now, but if anybody wants to watch that video live, I will watch it live because I feel like this stream is already kind of off its topic. Holly wants to watch the video live. Okay, does anybody else want to watch the because you know this is what I'm gonna launch today on this stream, and only you will be able to see it. Is the very first live actual Hawaiian media, actual LGBT, unlike Spider-Man, unlike Disney, on this channel will be the first actual anti-imperial, anti-capitalist Hawaiian pro-LGBTQ plus and anti-empire accept media from the Silver Spook Media Cooperative ever. Okay, so if you want to see the first actually based thing in Hollywood or in entertainment ever, you gotta watch this. I'm just joking, but I'm gonna since if Holly wants to see it, so I think we'll just play it. And Victor wants to see it, so we'll just play it because I'm already way off my topic anyway. So I just finished editing it. I stayed up till like 2:30 editing this video. So I will now play it. Give me 1 second here. Now that all of the liberals have left, now we can have party time. Okay. Sorry, I gotta get this up on the screen. I hope the audio comes through. I've never tried to play this way before, but we'll see if we can get it to play. So this video is called and this is a video that is called "Treat Your Earth / Your Mother Right." I actually made a song about this. It's on an album called "Colonizers Are Going to Hell" or "Colonialism is Going to Hell." And we're going to watch this video now. Once I get the video prepared. You know, today today is not my best day because I just. Oh, shoot. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Could you hear what was just coming out? If you can hear that, then that means that my audio is working. You can't see it. Could you hear it? We're able to hear it? If anybody in the chat can just let me know if you could hear what I just played. If you can, then we'll go through this. Okay, right on. Thanks a lot, Emma and Victor. Okay, here we go. So this video is called Treat Your Earth / Mother Right. It does not star Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's not what's supposed to be on the screen. Okay, here we go. Can you see this? There should be a Silver Spook face, but with red and lava. Can you see that? It's coming out? Okay, here we go. Great Maui slowed the sun and fished the island up with his hands. Then went to mother's womb to steal immortality for man. Now he snuck into the nether regions of the grateful man of night. But her vaginal obsidian teeth crushed his head between her thighs. Like a billionaire rocket into a Stafford harem on Mars. Leaving toxic Mother Earth and all her children burned and scarred. Dude, you better watch yourself. Treat her right, you better treat your lady right. Treat her right before she crushed you between her wildfire NATO thighs. Treat her right, you better treat her mother right. Treat her right before she strangle you with famine, fire, and blight. Treat her right. On the slopes of Puna, the man chiefs held a sled race. But when the Pele goddess came, they flipped the bird to her face. Then Pele stamped her foot and the earth did shake and spasm. And from Kilauea's crater came fire, brimstone, and pyroclasm. Roaring rivers and leaping rocks, red streams of burning lava. Then all those ignorant dudes were fried to statues of obsidian. As the last top royal Chuck died, he heard Pele scoff. Disrespect your woman, you get your face burned off. You better watch yourself. Treat her right, you better treat your lady right. Treat her right before she crushed you between her wildfire NATO thighs. Treat her right, you better treat her mother right. Treat her right before she strangle you with famine, fire, and blight. Treat her right. Guitar solo. And if you blame and beat her like you Christians treat your Eve, you'll be banished from Mama's garden and your Lilith will have all the delicious things with us demons. Treat her right, better treat her mama right. Treat her right before she crushed you between wildfire NATO fires. Treat her right, you better drink your respect, woman, choose tonight. There's no future for shitty patriarchal dickhead reply, guys. Sky woman, Gaia, Papa, in the new Pacha Mama. She will survive, not sure about your lords of the flies. Treat her right, dude, you're gonna lose your life. Man, get right with your earth mama now. You mess around, you're gonna find out. Treat her right. Anyways, so that is that. I just finished editing that. Holly, thanks to Holly helped shoot that. I of course performed that myself. And so that is that's not out yet. I'm gonna put the video up, the actual video up at some point in the future, and it's also gonna be in the open mic on the Kate Nix stream that Holly mods. It's a variety of music stream that's gonna have open mic for lots of people submitting their content on Twitch on Tuesday. So anyways, that's a good place to start cutting this off. Anyway, thanks a lot, Victor and T Brown and Grant Scarborough. I think somebody, Grant said, Oh, that would make a really cool superhero movie. And I mean, I mean, I have been thinking about doing a superhero, a after a Neofeud 2 is done. I had these ideas for making like a Diablo or a Doom style game where you like play a character from like, like some, I don't know, it could be Hawaii, I don't know, but it would be like a character who is like actually fighting colonialism made by an indigenous person, namely myself, and a character kind of like that. But because Pele is a goddess in our legends. There are stories about Pele. There's lots of stories in Hawaiian culture that could be made into movies and into games, and they just haven't because the reasons I've been talking about this whole stream. So that is one thing that with the Silver Spook Cooperative Media, when we have like, more resources at our disposal, that's one thing. I have all these ideas. I like, just a whole movie where it's like Pele goes and fights all the colonizers and just like, empowers the end of U.S. occupation, destroys the U.S. military. Pele has already the volcano itself, that is the which is who Pele is the spirit of, has already destroyed military bases like Poakaloa. There's actually a U.S. military training facility that has been decolonized by lava. At least portions of it have been flowed onto by the lava. So literally, Pele is kicking the ass of the U.S. military pretty hard. The U.S. military tried to bomb the mountain here to stop a lava flow multiple times, and they failed both times. The lava was like, no, I'm going to flow over your F-35. Screw your American military. Screw your occupation. I'm flowing over your stuff now. That's what time it is. So, yeah. And anyway, thanks to Emma and thanks to T Brown. And yes, of course, like, because we're talking about, this is more centering LGBTQ plus issues. And so that is, I am a queer person and also an indigenous person. So that's on topic. But I think that we have to leave now. I got to eat lunch and I got to come back, and I'll be on the other channel later on. But don't forget, everything we do here, if you appreciate what we've done, is supported by Ko-Fi, Patreon support, sales of the games, such as Neofeud. I'm currently very close to finishing the sequel. I'm really working. I worked all day yesterday on making that video, editing that video. Well, I shot it on Thursday. I edited it like for 4 hours last night. And I've been working on the sequel to Neofeud 1, Neofeud 2, all day yesterday. So I'm really working as hard as possible to get all these things done. I'm trying to get one scene done a week. And in 4 months, I should be able to be done with at least a rough version of Neofeud. I got to still polish it up. Neofeud 2, I'm sorry. And if you would like to support us, consider helping us on Patreon. When you become a patron, you get access to the Silver Spook Discord, behind the scenes on what we're working on. And Silver Spook University, that's all the content I've ever produced categorized according to the topic. If you want to learn specifically about a certain topic. Today I was moving around a variety of topics, but sometimes I when I have more actual sleep, I am centering more on the specific ones I want to get into. So consider supporting us here, and then also you can get you can support us at itch.io. You can get all the games on itch.io, as I said. Most of what I do is actually making games, and so if you want to pick those up to help us out, you can get Neofeud on itch.io. If you like Decolonators, speaking of fire, this is a game where you literally blow away also colonizers and capitalists in a video game. This is a game with actual heroes, unlike American movies, right? You play somebody kicking capitalism and colonialism's butt. You can also get Pigeon with Gun, which is a game where you play a pigeon with a gun fighting giant robot gajillionaires. And of course, you can get Woman. That's a book by Holly, which is written from the perspective of Holly, who was raised in right-wing evangelical Protestant Christianity that critiques that system and tells Mary's side of this of things in the Bible. And you can also get that book for free, or you can support us with any amount of money when you pick it up. At Silverspook Games at octodon.social, at Silverspook Games at mastodon.social, you can follow. As well, you can also follow at Silverspook Guy, and you can also follow at Silverspook Games for the game stuff. And we also have Facebook, Instagram, and Terminus C is a game that is another one I'm the content director and writer of. That is a game set in the world of, it's actually Terminus Cyberstar is set in the world of Neofeud as well. I'm currently piecing together the Terminus, Neofeud, and Neofeud 2, all the worlds together. And it's also a cyberpunk game that I wrote and is coming out soon. So if you want to check that out, you can follow at Terminus C and join the Discord. And also, You can follow Holly at the Tech Fairy. Holly is a moderator here, of course. Holly shot that video you just watched. Is educator, married to myself, a producer and manager for Kate Nix, the Twitch stream variety and music and interactive show. And it's also Holly's parent with myself here trying to educate kids in the U.S. occupied Hawaii, and also is tweeting important things and writing books. So consider following Holly also. And also thanks to these people on the list. Thanks to Emma and Big Teal for hopping in there, and Monogatake and everyone else who joined us today. Thanks to all our ongoing supporters. Without your support, what we do is not possible. So thanks a lot, and we will be back later on this evening at 8 Pacific or 9 Pacific for hanging out and doing other fun stuff. So if you want to join, and also I will be more dressed up. You know, that's what it's in the nighttime. I get more dressed up on the Twitch streams. I get in the other genders on the Twitch streams. So consider following and checking that out. And see you until next time. Keep your lava incendiary hot. Keep your watch your movies. I'm not telling you can't watch your movies. I'm just saying, you want my real opinion, you might not like it. But also, I'm glad that there are, it's good that there are trans and black and people of color around. I wish that they were made under non-capitalist companies and cooperatives, and not with imperial interference. Let's put it that way. So thanks a lot for your watching, and we'll